Hello, I'm Herm Gailey. We're here to continue on with this now coming 4-year-old colt. This video is made in January, so technically he is a 4-year-old. However, he won't chronologically be 4 until May, mid-May, and I'm riding him accordingly. I'm not a big believer in overdoing 2- and 3-year-olds. As they get deeper into their 4-year-old year, they can take some pretty serious work. But till then, boy, there's a lot of maturing taking place. There's also a window of opportunity when they tend to be very receptive to learning. If you were to wait until they were 4 to really start doing anything with them, you would maybe wind up with a horse that had learned his own habits, had lived on his own, and formed his own opinions of things, and you'd have more resistance to deal with. So I try to balance those things between starting them young enough that they're receptive, but not working them hard enough to do them any harm. What I'm going to work on today is a little maneuver I just call the bent backup. This colt, and he may make a liar of me because I haven't backed him today, generally backs up pretty acceptably. Pick up on both hands, put a little leg on him, and he steps on back. He is not as catty, as steppy as some horses are backing up, but he's okay. Give him a little bit of a bump there, and he's a little more alert. Now we're going to take a little higher degree of difficulty. We know he will move back. We know he's not belligerent in the bridle. But what happens if you were to say, back up in a bent position with your head cocked to one side? So I'll do it first to the left, and I think we'll find that he's probably going to take to that pretty well. I have never done it to the left, so that's a fearless forecast, but that is his softer way. So it lets you sort of assess where your stiff spots are and work on them at the same time. I'm not worried about if he goes crooked. By and by, I'm going to be working on steering going backwards, and that's real important. But guiding backwards right now is not my priority. I'm just going to take his nose off to the left and ask him to back up. And that's very awkward to him. But he's being decent about it. And that will, right there, by taking him off center and accentuating the one rein and the one side of his mouth, that will help soften him up. Because you're not just backing up on 2 reins, you're backing up on 1 rein, and that's always a little bit better when you're trying to soften one. So I'm going to make sure he's actually bent and not just overflexed, which he likes to do. There, he gets a little stalled. There, he breaks loose. Now, am I going to back him the whole way across the pen? Absolutely not. But if he gets stuck like that, I'm going to hang in there until I get some motion. So I'm not troubled that he's going off with his hip to the left a little bit. That's actually logical. Now, let's see if we can identify his stiffer side pretty easily. Because I did try this once to the right, and he confirmed to me pretty clearly that that is indeed his stiffer side. So you see, he's stalled and he's stiff. So there could be 2 schools of thought on that, maybe even 3. One thought would be, well, maybe he's just not ready for that. Maybe we shouldn't do it. And maybe the other thing is, well, maybe we should really just crunch down on him and force him to do this. And the third school of thought is he's ready to do it, but he doesn't know how, and he needs to get softer, and this is a way to do it. So let's teach him to do it. Let's help him to do it. And let's not get greedy. Let's just get him stepping back. Now, it is very common for a horse to overbend a bit or overflex and get behind the vertical when you're doing this. I just don't worry about it because that's not going to be an issue when you're backing up with two hands. I'm also, in this instance, using a lot more hand than leg because my interest here is in educating his mouth. So I'm going to use enough leg to tell him to go, but I'm not going to help him out too much. We'll take him up here, tip his nose to the right, ask him to back up. So you can see he's getting more willing. Now I'll do that to the left, and this is completely unfair and unrehearsed, and it may not go well. But I'm going to show you how I like to end this maneuver as your horse gets more finished. Not every time, but from time to time. So I'll take the horse's head to the left, I'll start to back up, and then I'll say, come on through. Now, that was rough as guts, but the idea is to use that turn to break his shoulders loose to the extent they've gotten stiff as he backed up in that bent position. So we'll try that. Not going to be a big deal, and I don't want to stress him over this, and I definitely do not want to get him anticipating, but we're going to back up a bit, and we're going to say, can you come on through? So already a bit better. I'm trying hard to come off camera, but that's why I have professional help, and people have been telling me I need professional help for years, but that's the deal. Now, you don't want to do that too many times in a row. In fact, I'm going to do it and make a point of not turning him, because you don't want them volunteering that, or the whole thing goes to hell in a handbasket. But that's a useful set of exercises to do. Now, if you were to try that same thing to the right, okay, I'm going to put him in the bent back up, and I'm going to turn him to the right. Probably it won't go well because he's a little more resistant this way. See, he just sort of floundered around. He didn't get ugly about it. He just sort of slumped down in the bridle and pushed. So I'm not gonna do that anymore with him until he's more comfortable with the maneuver. But for demonstration purposes, that shows that the softer way, they'll come back through themselves, they'll back up easier. The stiffer way, everything is delayed. Everything is more difficult. So that maneuver, that bent back up, will over time, if you watch, I'm going to pick up on two hands, with two hands. Now, can you see that he's backing up easier than he was when we started? We didn't torture him to get him to back up by pulling on him with two hands or bumping him and so on. We just broke him loose side to side to where he's more willing to step away from the rein when you ask him to back up. So that's the purpose for that, is to break your horse loose. The other thing you'll find is then when you ask your horse to go forward and give his head, you can see he's pretty willing to do that, because let's face it, this is a piece of cake compared to backing up with your head bent. So it gets him softer all the time, not just when he's backing up. So it's transferable is what I'm saying. So those are some thoughts. There's a million little things you can do, all of which you can throw into the mix. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to be something you do again and again and again every day. It's a good tester. It's a good advancer. Hope it's useful to you, and we'll see you next time.